So welcome, undraftedfreeagent.com. Chris McKee here with Alex Burt. Week 1 of the Canadian Premier League is in the book, so we're going to run through a couple things today. Studs and duds, best players of the week, worst player of the week, also the power rankings we'll get to, and then we're going to talk a little bit about this week's schedule, some of the games upcoming. So first impression, kind of, some of the, just the level of play, obviously. Everyone's going to be a little bit rusty. When we watched Liverpool-Everton after their first break, and that first game back for Liverpool-Everton, horrible. So where would you kind of rate the level of play of the CPL as a whole, week 1?
Personally, I thought the first week was fantastic. Obviously, like you said, you're not going to have everyone mid-season form playing well, ball back to the net, but I thought the ball movement was fantastic. A lot of the fitness was perfect. So for the first week, I thought it was quite good football.
So, studs of the week, I'll run through a couple of the guys I like. First of all, Lowell Wright, 16-year-old York 9, youngest ever goal scorer in the history of the Canadian Premier League. I mean, you know a little bit about Lowell, coming across him in the OPDL days. What do you think about his performance, York 9?
I think when he came off the bench, as well as Max Ferrari, who previously played for Aurora in League 1 Ontario, I thought both of them really changed the game. They brought a lot of energy. And obviously the Lowell Wright coming out of the OPDL, that's fantastic for the Ontario youth soccer system.
Sergio Camargo, another guy that I really liked with Cavalry, midfield maestro, scored on that really cheeky penalty, the Panenka against Valor that helped give them a 2-0 lead. But I just thought just his movement, everything, he was just constantly causing danger. Thoughts on Camargo, nice little player.
Colombian-born, so he's obviously going to bring a little bit of flair to the team, a little bit of creativity. But yeah, when you're scoring penalties like that with that type of skill, you obviously got the confidence to play at a high level.
Another guy that I was really impressed with, and a lot of these guys, I'm not too familiar with. It's some of the guys we've seen last year, but another guy that I really like, Kwame Awuah from Forge, the defender. I mean, this guy, goal of the tournament so far,
for sure.
Absolute screamer. But here's a guy, first round pick in the MLS draft in 2017 by NYCFC. Had a couple games with them. Now coming back home to Canada, also had a stellar career for the Yukon Huskies in the NCAA. This guy, I mean, you can tell he's a little bit of cut of above some of the other players. Your thoughts on Kwame with Forge?
When you have a cup of coffee in the MLS and play high Division I soccer, you're really going to have that talent and experience. But you're going to see he's got the speed, he's got the creativity, the IQ as well on the field, and he really understands his role well. He's got the versatility. He can play in the midfield, even within the back four. So that's a great acquisition. It's going to be a great piece for Forge.
And another one guy we both liked, Farsi, the left winger. They got him listed as a defender, but he's playing a little left wing. Yesterday, the game I saw in Valor, and he's getting up and down that pitch. He was really fantastic. Thoughts on him? What do you know about Farsi, the left winger with Cavalry?
He had the assist for Haber on his goal. It was a fantastic ball, you could see, but I think he played formerly with the men's national team, the futsal men's national team. So in tight space he's going to be really quick, and he's going to be able to get through defenders very fast. But you see he's got the speed up and down the wing, and he's already got himself an assist. So to say he doesn't have that finishing product, that would be false.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Haber, Marcus Haber, 31-year-old. I mean, this is a guy that spent the past decade playing in the Scottish leagues, League 1 and 2 in England. And then we chatted about that header, that goal he got on the cross from Farsi. Just, you can tell he's used to that physical nature of the game from the Scottish leagues. Just basically grabbed his guy by the scruff, got past him, and headed it away. I mean, that just a little bit more class than the guy who was defending him.
That's prototypical football at its finest. You're really seeing those English-Scottish version of a player come out, because when you're playing at a high first division level, you're going to see that physicality with those pros, and how smart those guys over are in Europe. And for him to bring that experience with him back here is going to be just beneficial to every guy on that Cavalry roster.
So any particular guys stand out for you? Any studs of the week after week 1 so far?
Personally, I thought Marco Bustos was quite fantastic. He got himself a goal and assist for Pacific, as well as even Blasco on the wing. Obviously, he came off around the 70th minute, substituted, but he showed some promise on that left side. So Pacific going forward, I think they could have a chance with both their wingers. They're quite predominant going forward. And even, let's see, so the back line within Forge was fantastic. I thought David Edgar, as well as the other man with him here in Team of the Week. But both of that, you have a former Premier League defender. That's obviously going to bring the experience to your back line, and you'll be okay. So I think Forge going forward is going to be perfect, and those were just a couple guys I've noticed.
So duds of the week. So for those that don't know, Alex, he's a goalkeeper. He's part of Masters Academy. Masters, obviously League One champ. Should have been playing in the Canadian Championship this year, but it's getting postponed to 2021. But Alex, part of a good academy system. And you and I both talked about Nolan Worth, the Pacific keeper. Oh. I mean, the calamity on his touch. Thoughts on him giving up the penalty?
I mean, as a defender, you're going to play the ball back to your keeper thinking, okay, let's play the ball out of this terrible situation. We're going to be okay. But when your goalkeeper's taking a touch that leads 10 feet in front of him, you're already setting yourself up for terrible failure. But after that, he just swipes at the player and doesn't really make a good effort. Like, maybe slide at the ball, give yourself a better chance. But starting off with a touch 10 feet in front of you, you're going to kill your whole team.
And it really, that's 10 minutes into the game. It just sets, you think about all that off-season training. Everyone goes in, all right, we're going to win the league. 10 minutes in, the goalie just lets you down right away. So it really deflates the whole team.
Yeah.
So that's a guy you got to watch. I mean, we haven't even confirmed if he's going to get the start tonight. We'll talk about that yet. I saw some chatter online about if he does. But, I mean, that guy, he's got to get it together because goalkeeping mistake like that, it just deflates the whole sort of the whole system.
I can agree with that for sure.
And then one guy I was just appalled with, this Ailman with Edmonton. I heard everyone's talking, this guy's a good player. And I sort of focused on him in the first half. I didn't see any worse effort from any player. He's basically walking around the pitch in the first half, bitching and moaning that his teammates weren't getting him the ball well. Just to me, I would have subbed him out after 25 minutes. It's just his effort was appalling.
On Twitter, I've seen some of the fan reaction as well. A lot of the fans were actually, they were okay with him. They thought he had a decent performance. I watched the Edmonton game as well. I saw what you were saying. He kind of just hung around that left side or the right side, didn't really move too much. Yeah, he'd kind of have a moment here and there. He'd pick up the ball, make a nice run. But besides that, he was quite lazy over the field and would only pick his moments, wasn't really tracking back at the finest times and leading his team to some bad opportunities.
And then one other dud for me, not so much of a dud, but it ended up being a dud. Vachon Neufville, who is the left back with Atletico Ottawa. Now this guy, first half of the game, this is a guy part of the West Ham Academy, just come over from London, England to play in the CPL this summer. And one of the things I did like about Ottawa is, we'll get into it a little bit next in the rankings, but they had some talent. And Neufville, this guy, probably the best player on the pitch in the first half for Ottawa. Then at the 50th minute, gets himself a red card, gets sent off. Ottawa's up 2-0 at this point. It leads to a chain of events that cost him the game.
Yeah. Well, I saw him. He was torching Telfer and Donaire on that right-hand side, and those aren't two guys who are just slacks in the CPL league. And so to say, I'm going to absolutely torch these guys with my speed and skill, got himself an assist and really helped Ottawa to that great first half start. But after he went down, that left-hand side for Ottawa was just wide open. And when you have Telfer on that side, one of the best CPL players in the league, he's going to dominate and he's going to have that opportunity. And it totally let Ottawa down to have 10 men.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to be out the next game with the red. Yes. I don't know how many. With this island games, obviously rules change, kind of that. I mean, normally that's a couple game ban, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But any duds of the week on your list? Anyone jump out at you?
I think Dominic Samuel, as Forge still had the lead, he came on late for Jonathan Grant, who got an injury, but he ended up getting the yellow card, which led to the penalty for Cavalry to earn that second goal and tie the game. And he ended up playing the second game of the week where Forge did winning 2-0, but he just wasn't making the same effort as Jonathan Grant getting up that right side. And I think if that continues, that's going to be a problem for Forge, and Cavalry or York, another high-level team, will find a way to expose that.
All right, so power rankings of the week. We got a little bit of a sample of each one. Do you have your list together?
Yes,
so I'll run through mine quickly. And then you can kind of see where you go from there. So obviously, I think the best team in the league so far, Cavalry. Obviously, they tied Forge. You could have flipped a coin with either.
Yeah.
I just think they're a little deeper, a little bit more motivation. They were the best team in the league last year, but ended up losing in the final to Forge, who were the obviously inaugural champs in the CPL. So I think, that motivation is there, and I just think they're so deep. So I got Cavalry 1, Forge 2. I like York 9-3. I thought obviously they'd come down 2-0 at the half to Atletico. Slow start. It's going to be rusty. First game back for everyone. I just thought they got it together, and they got a good mix of crafty vets, Telfair, some of the guys you mentioned, as well as the youngsters, Ferrari, right? So I think York 9 could develop. I got Edmonton at 4. I know they lost, but they just showed something. They gave her. Against Forge, they had a fight. Like they, crossbar late. They could have got in that game, and I think they will. Number 5, surprising Ottawa. You assume going in it's going to be the worst team. Expansion franchise. But I think Mista's done a good job of getting talent together. Now he's just got to figure out who fits where in the 11. But they've got some players. 6 Halifax, HFX. I think them and Pacific. I watched the game. I wasn't really impressed with either team. I think Halifax and Pacific both going to be in the bottom half of the league. I don't think they're going to get through to the next round. Pacific, I got 7, and then Valor 8, worst team in the league last year. Didn't show anything. You mentioned it earlier off camera. We were talking about it. Didn't have a shot on goal. You can't get a shot on goal. You ain't getting a point. So your rankings from there.
My first 4, I had Forge at number 1. Personally, I thought their ball movement was fantastic. They really showed a European style of play. So number 2, I had Cavalry. I thought they were a little bit too direct at times, trying to find Haber a little bit too much. But besides that, they're obviously fantastic, loaded team, and they're motivated to get that title. Number 3, I had York, who obviously ended up getting that comeback against Ottawa in the second half, showed they're a really good side. Ottawa I had at number 4. Newfield, he gives the red card away, and that blows Ottawa's chance of having the first 3 points as your first game. And then
the good news with him, though, he's not injured. He's just got a red card, so he's not back in the line.
I heard it could be appealed as well, so who knows. But to round out the bottom 4, I had Pacific at 5. I know they tied 2-2, but I think they showed a little bit of promise. They got a couple players who can make some playmaking ability. And then at 6, 7, and 8, I had Halifax, Edmonton, and Valor. I thought Edmonton losing Amir Didic is going to be a huge problem for Edmonton, because that's a men's national team starting center half. So that's going to be a huge problem in the gap of the defense. And Valor, obviously, a horrible side. Not a shot on goal. And what are you really going to do?
It's and I think they only kept 7 players from last year, but so now who's gelling? Who's the leader? They got a lot of work to do in Winnipeg. Excuse me. So as far as the schedule this week, couple games coming up. Wanted to go through. So tonight's game, we're filming this on a Tuesday. So York 9 versus Pacific FC at 8 p.m. Thoughts going to that game? Who you like?
I think York's going to take that one. Maybe a 2-1, 3-1 victory. I think they've got the speed, the creativity on the wings, and they'll dominate that back line of Pacific.
Well, curious to see if Jimmy Brennan gives. At what point does he put Wright and Ferrari, these guys in the starting line, and give the young guys a run right off the bat, as opposed to waiting for that injection? Because I think Pacific, a little bit more of established team. They got a good striker on their own, and so they could get ahead quick. They can't allow that York. So I think York's got to get out quick, score within the first 25-30, and then they can dictate the game. So I like York 9 as well with a win. And then Wednesday, 2 games: Ottawa Valor, and then Halifax versus Forge. So we'll start with Ottawa Valor. Thoughts on that?
Ottawa's, I think they'll take this game regardless of Newfield being out or not. Valor just doesn't have the quality. They're very poor all over the field. The striking options are terrible, so I believe Ottawa's going to come out with that.
I like a tie. I think Valor, keep in mind, these guys are pros, right?
Yes.
These guys got, wives and kids, some of them and stuff. And desperation, already we're talking game 2 of the season for Valor, but there is desperation after the poor performance in week 1, game 1. They got to come out and show something tonight. Tomorrow. And I think they can. I think this is kind of do or die game 2 almost for them. So I think they can come, nick a point maybe against an expansion Ottawa team, and then Halifax Forge. It should be a bit of a cakewalk.
Yeah, for sure. I think Forge will just walk through this, maybe 3-0, even 4-0 win, something like that. If they can show their dominance, that's going to be a big message to the rest of the league that they're not here to mess around. They want a second title.
I like a 3-1. I think Halifax may be able to squeeze one. I like Corey Bent, the young number 1 overall pick in the CPL draft, the cousin of Darren Bent. which was a cool little tidbit there. But he was the guy that caused the penalty against the Pacific goalie with his speed. He can get up and down that pitch. Young guy that, hey, that's his first pro game. He's just been playing at I think Cape Breton University. He was at. So this guy's playing at U Sports, and even the level of competition out on the East Coast that it would be maybe in the OUA or Quebec, not there. But that's a guy, young guy, who's going to really develop. So I think that's a guy that can create something. Maybe get a goal. And then Thursday's game, Edmonton versus Cavalry. I mean, Cavalry's been the cream of the crop so far. I think little close, maybe a 2-1 Cavalry, a little tighter than, a little uncomfortable for them maybe.
Like I said, the loss of Amir Didic is going to be huge for Edmonton. So whether he plays or not, I heard he has an ankle injury, so it's quite questionable. But I think Cavalry will dominate with the loss of Didic out. So Marcus Haber is just going to run through that back line. Same with Farsi. That speed on that wing is going to be really exciting. And the midfield three, Bruno Zeppi as well as Adekugbe, those are some promising players. So I think Cavalry might take that. My prediction would be maybe 2-0 again. I think they'll hold it tight.
All right. So, well, that's week 1, Canadian Premier League. This is UndraftedFreeAgent.com. Alex Burt, I'm Chris McKee. So, hey, just like the CPL players kind of feeling it out, we'll feel it out. We'll keep giving content. And so, obviously, don't forget to click subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out the website, UndraftedFreeAgent.com. My Twitter, Chris McKee, is at Mr. McKee. And Alex, your Twitter and Instagram?
My Twitter would be BU1RT_, and my Instagram is AlexanderBurt23.
So Alexander Burt 23 Instagram, and you can check out some of his soccer highlights there as well. All right, thanks for joining us.